And to discuss Poland's current security challenges in the face of Russia's escalating hybrid warfare in the country and the region, we welcome Professor Magdalena M. Baran, Managing Editor at Liberté. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, good afternoon.
So let's begin with the basic, the Eastern Shield project, not to be confused with the European Sky Shield initiative, because it's totally different, let's just make it clear. But what is this project about? How will it improve our security in both Poland and the region itself?
So far, it's the biggest project since the Second World War, in fact, because we haven't got this kind of shield since the beginning of the transition. In fact, we didn't think rationally about the defense of Poland, and so also about being the last country, the border country of the European Union. It means that we will have like 700 kilometers of our border prepared for possible war. Okay, we don't want to people make scared. We don't want to people be afraid of war, but we have three pillars in this field. First is the power of Polish army. The second pillar is the power of the alliance, so the power of NATO and other alliances, but also the power that we try to build, called the social resilience. And that means not also that we feel protected, but how our government, how our public administration build in us citizens a feeling that we're safe and that we can live our lives, use our freedoms, and so on and so on. The shield is first to build some fortifications, some bunkers, but also to use the natural environment, so forest, swamps, pools, whatever we have, and it will be spread to 50 kilometers from Polish border, in fact.
So you speak about these three pillars, and that is so important and groundbreaking. So is it really so important and groundbreaking, or has this sort of methodology, this sort of structure been used elsewhere?
Well, I think it is important to use it exactly in this place and to think it strategically. Because if we think about the security of the European Union, security of Poland as our duty, in fact, when we think from government position, but also as our duty as citizens to make our land protected. We need to think strategically. We need to think about security, but also about, I'm an ethic, so I need to think also about values, and security, responsibility and justice are values that are protected thanks to the shield.
And overall, one has to say that the European Union has also very early on recognized Lukashenko's activities as a part of hybrid warfare. So this was like the first moment that we realized collectively that something needs to be done. But we're now talking not just about the question of controlling migration. We're talking about deterring a potential aggressor. So essentially making sure that if Putin ever thinks about a full-scale war, he should think twice or three times and realize it's not going to be easy, right? So it's a major shift in thinking, like when it comes to how we perceive this region in general.
When we think about a hybrid war, we need to remember what it is. That, okay, there's a traditional war, but also cyber war, but also terrorism, but also crime. And in fact, what happened, but also the next thing, so using people as weapon. And this is what is happening at the Polish-Belarusian border right now. And this situation has two phases. One, just a Polish soldier was attacked by a person, by a migrant. But also at the very, very same fence, you can see young African girls, probably young teenagers, in the early teenagers, being there and being unprotected, and some of them were even kidnapped back to the forests of Belarus. So this situation has two phases. One, we need to protect our land, we need to protect Europe, but also we need to think about the human rights. And in fact, what happened yesterday with the soldier was a moment when we started to think about not only protection, but the necessity to defense. We have these three categories: to protect, to defense, and to deterrence. And right now, all of them are in game.
And also, if I may, just one quick question. Do you think it might have actually been a provocation, i.e. this person was not a migrant just, seeking a new life, but instead someone who was put there and told, look, if you act aggressively, we're going to reward you, because perhaps Belarus and by extension Russia might want to give migrants a bad name in order to allow far-right parties in the region and beyond to actually point their finger and say, look, this is what is happening. We need to stop this right now. Do you think that this could be the plan? Because it seems like Putin wants these parties to increase their, to increase in popularity across Europe.
I just came back from Madrid, and there was a huge meeting of far-right and populistic parties, in fact nationalistic parties, and they were talking about the future of Europe, also considering those migrants to be the danger for Europe. And this is what Putin in fact wants. If we listen to the voice of the Minister of Foreign Affairs just yesterday, Radek Sikorski, he was speaking, he was talking that 90% of those people had Russian visas. Not even Belarusian, but Russian visas. And just look at those people who are next to the fence. Okay, we still have the war refugees, and we must remember about it. We still have accidents of the pushbacks that shouldn't happen. According to the human rights, to the international criminal and humanitarian law. But we have more and more very young men coming to the border, and we also have those reports saying that the Belarusians would give them those knives and broken bottles and other kind of semi-weapon or things that you can change into weapon to attack Polish borders. We need to find a rational way to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves. But also we need to think about the rational migrant policy right now, not to be accused of violating international human rights.
But what would you suggest is the rational approach? You describe these young African girls, which obviously they're in a tragic situation, and obviously they are victims of crime. But how would you, what would you suggest is the appropriate way of dealing with this situation, given what is happening at the Polish-Belarusian border? And the situation is escalating.
The situation is escalating, especially the violence at the border is escalating. But okay, you can see, and probably all of us saw those movies that just made at the Polish-Belarusian borders by both sides, by the guards at the border, but also by the activists. And you can see from one side people attacking, but on the other side you can see people that just somehow get to Poland. Okay, you may say in illegal way, but they had the documents ready saying, okay, I'm a war refugee, for example, or I'm not counting like this, but climate refugee, and this is my papers. I would like to stay here. And what would we do in a regular way? Well, we should take the documents, not to do the pushback, and check if the person should be sent back if it's a real war refugee, or the person should be just sent back to the country of origin. And maybe I had this thought that maybe this person could be a kind of ambassador that would be able to show, no, there is no easy way to get through the forests of Belarus to European Union. Maybe it could be a solution. Of course, it means to build a huge system. In fact, the system that I observe, for example, at Lampedusa or at the island of Lesbos. But we need to find a solution that would be correct according to the humanitarian law. Otherwise, Poland as a country, but Poland as a Polish administration may be accused of openly accused of violating those laws. And this is our problem. And if you have, for example, a woman who is pregnant, and she was pushed back several times. Well, the situation is not that clear anymore, like with those guys who just attack Polish soldiers.
So essentially people like that are caught between the hammer and the anvil because
Yeah.
the Belarusians are pushing them forward. But you've also mentioned one very important thing, reaching out to societies in Africa, in regions from where the migrants originate, to raise awareness of the fact that the so-called path through Belarus is in fact a path leading nowhere, right?
But in the propaganda they hear in the countries of origin, they are getting to know that this is the easiest way right now to go to get to European Union.
Well, indeed, Russia is gaining
But
influence in
fact,
Africa as well. So
we need
can
to
we
build
handle
a
this?
strong propaganda there about no, this is not the easy way. Just look at the pictures, look at the movies. Look, we are building defense, not only defense, but we are preparing to build a whole fortification. If just today during the conference at the border, Donald Tusk and Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz were saying that okay, we are ready to make the border stronger by the end of the year, and then we are ready to build the whole shield to 2028. We are ready to spend 10 billions to protect ourselves. So maybe this is a propaganda that should be spread exactly in the countries of origin. Just to say them, there's no, it's not a good idea to come here this way. It's not a good idea, but to try to cross the border, Polish-Belarusian border, but also to show the movies and also the, to listen to those who spent hours, days, weeks, months in the forests. Okay, right now maybe in Germany, maybe somewhere else in Europe, who are able to say, yeah, those were Belarusians who took our property, who made us scared, who were pushing us to violate the law, in fact.
It's still going to be a massive undertaking, right? I mean,
Well, there's a lot of legislation that has to be completed because
cooperation also.
There is no
between-
legislation actually that is in place to allow this shield to actually be built. That is one of the main issues. I don't know if you are able to tell us how quickly this legislation can be put.
I'm not sure how
place.
quickly. I just what I can say that there is a project, and I think it's already in the legislation office that the project of the Parliament Act about civil protection and civil defense, if I remember correctly, the title of the Parliament Act. And it should be proceed. I'm not sure if the shield is a part of it, but I assume that it should be.
Because there are a number of people who live nearby who will have to be compensated because it will be built nearby where they live.
Just when they present the frames of the shield, I think it was General Kukua who mentioned that they plan really close cooperation with those people. And I think that might be somehow a part of the system.
Well, hopefully the process can begin as quickly as possible, given how difficult the situation is.
Very much so.
Okay.
Professor Magdalena M. Baran was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your expertise.
Thank you very much.